Hi guys, my name is Emily Hartridge and I am a YouTuber, comedian, presenter, personal trainer, living in London. My first reaction to hearing about the Mum and Son Sex Talk podcast was, what a fucking amazing idea. I wish I'd thought of that. My mum would never be up for this, or my dad. But I think it's such a good idea, because why shouldn't we all talk about sex? We all have it. Parents, sons, daughters, it's so normal. Talk about it more, I say. What was my most memorable sex experience? I would probably say with my ex-boyfriend, current boyfriend Jake, love you, sorry this wasn't you. We were going for a walk in like a country park in Hampshire in England, and I just think we just felt a bit horny. So there was no one around, I don't think, and we just had sex against a tree. And I'm not someone that's super adventurous with like where I have sex. I'm adventurous in the bedroom but not outside. So that for me was very adventurous, and I felt like a right whore after, and I loved it. My secret for great sex is having a partner that makes you feel really confident, like body confident about yourself, because I've had many boyfriends where I guess I wasn't that complimented by them, and I'm not someone that's like, take all my clothes off, I'm naked, I'm so proud of this. Like, I do get quite shy about showing my body. So for me, it's all about having someone that makes me feel amazing in bed. And my current boyfriend, Jake, makes me feel amazing in bed. So I think that for me is the secret, is just being with someone who makes you feel amazing. In 3 words, how would I describe my experience on this podcast? Fun. I have recorded quite a few podcasts, and this was definitely the funnest for me. Because I could say whatever I wanted. I could swear, I could talk about sex, obviously, and I'm someone that needs that verbal freedom, so that was amazing. Sexual. It was very sexual, even though we weren't all together. I mean, there was just 3 people talking about sex for about an hour, so it was sexual. The last word I would use is hilarious. We just non-stop laughed for about an hour, and it was really funny. I mean, I'm funny anyway, but those 2 were quite funny. Not as funny as me, but still funny. Yeah, so those are my 3 words. Fun, sexual, and hilarious. Love you guys. Bye.
Hey, this is Billy Procida from the Manwhore podcast. What did I think of Sex Talk with My Mom when I first found out about it? I'm going to be honest, thought it was a little bit of a gimmick. Thought it was like, a little bit eye-roll worthy. But then I started listening to the show, and just over the years, Sex Talk with My Mom has become so good, so high quality, and has opened up really fantastic, open conversations about sex. I think it's awesome. What's my most memorable sex experience? I don't know, Cam. You pick which gangbang, and that one. Sure. Why not? My secret for great sex is communication, communication, communication. The answer to the majority of sex advice questions I have gotten have been, I don't know, why don't you ask your partner? They probably have a good idea. Another one is just, whatever your fantasy is, you can probably make it come true. With a little help from Craigslist or Reddit, you can make anything happen. In 3 words, describe being on Sex Talk with My Mom. Okay. Fun, hot, mom. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Congratulations, Karen and Cam, on 200 awesome episodes of Sex Talk with My Mom. May you have another super fun 200 more. Much love.
What was my first impression about the show? Oh, wow. Well, I didn't thought it was that weird because I talked with my dad about sex and porn and all that stuff all the time. We've always had like a very open relationship like that. So when I heard about the show, I was like, that's amazing. That's super good. That's a mom and a son can talk about everything just like we should, because parents and their kids, they should be friends, and we should be able to talk about everything, even as shameful or as fun as it is, whether it's sex or where I want to go to college. Talk with your parents. So love the show, love the idea. I'm so glad to be part of this video. Oh, we're talking about that. Okay, let's see. My most memorable sexual experience. It had to be when I was making this video in California. There was fisting, there was ass eating, there was prolapsing, there was all kinds of stuff. Huge toys. I remember there was a horse dick this fucking big. So, yeah, that was my most memorable sexual experience. Let's see, 3 words that would describe my experience in the podcast. Excited. I was very excited about the concept and what I was going to talk about. Welcomed. I felt very welcome since the beginning. I felt very comfortable. Honored. It was an honor for me to be part of the show. So, congratulations on your 200 episodes. Keep it up.
Hey guys, I'm Amber Newcomb. I was on an episode 3 years ago, almost to the date, where I didn't know it, but I was on a date with Cam, and I subsequently had to friend zone him. When I first heard about this podcast, I thought it was insanely unique, and 3 years later, still true. I don't think there's anything like this or ever will be, and I think that's amazing. 3 words to describe my experience on the show. The first, I guess, would be nerve-wracking. I was so nervous. I had never been a guest on anything before, and I didn't want to sound stupid. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I wanted to make myself sound clear and where I was coming from, and also to be sitting down with somebody that you had just had a really uncomfortable experience with, and then to go in front of, thousands of people that were listening and in front of his mother was so crazy and just made me so nervous. I remember just shaking in my car and waiting to go inside, just being like, I don't want to do it. Second word I would use is just unique. I don't think I'm ever gonna have an experience like that again. I think it was such a special time in my life and a really nice way to wrap up my very strange time in LA. And the third word I would use is freeing. It felt kind of nice to be called out in a way by Cam for friend zoning him, because it forced me to confront an uncomfortable situation with plain and simple honesty and openness. And I think that's translated into the relationship that I have now. Pretty much when I left and went to Atlanta, I met somebody right when I moved there, and we're still dating almost 3 years, 2.5, 3 years later. Honesty is such a huge part of our relationship. Cam and his mom taught me how important it can be to just talk through things and to be open with the people, not necessarily that you're in a relationship with, but just people that you come in contact with all the time. There's no need to brush anything under the rug. It's always okay, and feels actually better to get things off your chest and to be honest with each other. And honesty being such a big part of my life now, a big part of my relationship, is all thanks due in part in a small way to my time with Cam and his mom.
Focus. I'm Vince Kelvin, notorious, devious seduction coach for now over 2 decades. What was my initial response when I heard about the mom-son sex podcast? Oh, I was absolutely outraged. No, seriously, I loved it. I found it so refreshing, and I personally was blessed with always being able to talk freely about sex with my parents, and that did a lot of good for me. Now, I know you want to know most memorable sexual experience. Hey, I'm a simple man. For me, it's more about the pending possibility of a royal pounding, that place of not knowing if it's gonna come or not. But since you probably were hoping for a more juicy story, then here's my favorite game of them all. For that, you need at least 3 girls or more. They blindfold you, they make you spin around a couple circles, and then the name of the game is Whose Mouth Is It? Now, the secret to spectacular sex: practice, 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 and then more practice. That's how you get good at any and everything. 3 words to describe my experience on the Mom Son Sex Podcast: intelligent, refreshing, and enlightening, not to say lovely and classy. Meanwhile, happy anniversary 200 episodes. You guys fucking rock. And remember, no matter what, safe sex or no sex. Safe sex or no sex.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I was featured on Sex Talk with My Mom on an episode called Horny Widows. My first reaction to hearing about this podcast was that it was revolutionary. My son was 11 years old at the time when I first started listening to it, and I just thought it was great to hear a mother-son couple kind of talking so openly about sex, because that's how I'd always talk to my kids about it. And it was just really interesting to hear their dynamics in comparison to the dynamics with my own children. Personally, my most memorable sexual experience was my first threesome. It was not at all like porn, in a good way, actually. It turned out to be a really good, positive, emotional experience, and I was not expecting that, so I will always remember it. The secret to great sex is knowing yourself, knowing what you like, what you want. That's step one, and then vocalizing that. So first you have to learn about what you want, probably through masturbation, and then you have to be brave enough to tell your or drunk enough to tell your partner or partners exactly what you want. In 3 words, I would describe being a guest on the show as therapeutic. Me and Karen were both widowed, so it was kind of like a therapy session. It was also very educational. I learned a lot about the relationship between Karen and her son and my own relationship with my children. And I would also call it fun. It was just like a lot of fun. There was a good play of fun and seriousness. But the fun, I feel like, really bonded me to them, and I feel like now Karen and Cam, like, I could just call them friends. I could hang out with them, and yeah, it was a great experience.
Hi, my name is Emily from the Sex with Emily podcast and SiriusXM radio show. Happy 200th podcast episode, Cam and Karen Lee. I'm so happy for you guys. I love your show. I love you both. And I'm going to answer these questions. My first reaction to hearing about your mom-son sex talk podcast, I'm like, finally, amazing. Brilliant. That is the best idea, is what I thought. That's what I thought. My most memorable sex experience, must I choose? I have to say it is probably sex on the beach in Mexico with my masseuse. Though I met him, it wasn't during the massage, after the massage. I did a whole podcast about it. It was very memorable and hot. My secret for great sex, I will not waver from this. It is communication is a lubrication. You have to talk about sex to have better sex and also lubrication.
Hi guys, Sylvia Sage here, comedian and adult film actress. I wanted to say congratulations on your 200th episode. You guys are amazing. I'm so thankful for meeting you guys and you guys having me on the show. My initial reaction to hearing about your mother-son sex podcast was, holy crap, yes, we need this. We need people talking about sex, and to have a mother and son dynamic, it's mind-blowing. We often think about the sex conversations you have with your friends, but no one's really having them with their parents. So thank you, thank you, thank you is my only reaction. I love that you guys are doing this. As far as my most memorable sex experience, wow, I've had a lot. But I'm gonna say the number one that sticks out in my mind the most is having sex on the roof of a car, in the rain. The hood was still hot from the car running. It was just a very memorable moment in my head, and I'll never forget it. When you ask what I think the secret to great sex is, number one, communication, communication, communication. Tell them what you like and listen and hear what they want. Talk about sex. That's all we need to be doing. In 3 words, how would I best describe being on your show? I would say open, vulnerable, and honest. We called my dad, we called an ex-boyfriend. Things got real, and I think I might have even shed a tear or two. But in saying all that, I'm so happy that I got to do the show. You guys really get down and you really talk about the insides of people and really get down to the dirty when we talk about sex. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I wish you nothing but the best for the future. Mwah.
Hi guys, it's Remy
and Charlotte
from the How Come podcast. Congratulations, Sex Talk with My Mom.
200 episodes.
I'm killing it.
You guys are insane.
You're amazing.
What was your first reaction to hearing about our mom-son sex talk podcast? Oh, amazing.
Amazing. We were so excited.
Like sisters?
Yeah. And also we talk about like family, talking about sex all the time on our podcast, and talking to you guys was like the first time we actually got to see it in real life.
Totally. Like, it's sex. People do it.
Mm-hmm.
Moms, dads.
Especially a mother-son talking about it. That's like such an important relationship. Because people assume that guys know everything and that you can't talk to your mom about stuff, and like you guys handle that so well.
What was your most memorable sex experience?
I would have to say my most memorable sex experience was the first time I came, because that was pretty recent. It was February 22nd of 2018. I remember the day. I remember the time. It was a very big deal for me. I was 28. And
it was right there.
And it was right in there.
Oh, you know what? I had the best sex of my entire life with a complete stranger once.
Who? What? Oh, we don't know.
No, we do know now.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, he was a stranger. And I didn't know that could happen, really.
What is your secret for great sex? Well, listening to your body, knowing what you want in the first place. I think experimenting alone is like a really huge thing.
And speaking up in the bedroom, too, is huge.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't mind readers.
No, nor should they be. That would be bad for me.
Saying some shit. You're not weird.
You're not weird. Whatever you like or think about or whatever, don't judge yourself. That's a huge thing. Don't judge yourself or anybody else. In 3 words, how would you describe your experience being a guest on the show? Fun,
cozy,
and family.
Totally. It was just like the best time.
It was so nice. And Jewish. No.
Jewish.
Very Jewish, because we all are Jews. Congratulations, Sex Talk with our mom. Nope. You're our mom now.
You could have been if you set me up with your other son.
Yeah. Anyway, congratulations, Sex Talk with My Mom, or as we like to say,
congratulations
for all the wonderful work you're doing with sex and families and
totally
everyone.
You guys are the best.
We love you.
Hi, I'm Julie, aka Doris, as noted by my Twitter, which I don't really use much anymore. I'm actually at work right now, so I apologize for the lackluster setting. We'll just say this is my take on realism. I hope that this is audible too. Jesus. My reaction to hearing about the show was definitely, that's different. That's definitely different, and fuck no, I could never do that with my mom, which made me all the more fascinated. And my most prominent sexual memory is definitely getting fingered in the car to orgasm while Purple Rain by Prince was playing, hands down. And 3 words to describe my experience as a guest: wow, elucidating, and liberating. And I say those 3 words because, wow, I was just kind of in awe of how easy it was and how almost comfortable I felt by just like having an open dialogue about having sex, especially with a sexual partner and his mom, which I could never fathom doing something like that other than on that fucking podcast. And elucidating because it cleared so many things up, so many like deep-seated emotions or detachments I had during sex. It just cleared a lot of things up and made me feel that much more comfortable with communicating about sex. And liberating because, I mean, to have that debriefing, as we called it, it was so freeing, and to communicate openly about it was fucking incredible. And to speak to people who are so open and knowledgeable about the topic was really, really great. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Dirty Lola, a sex educator, performer, and dildo slinger in New York. My first reaction to finding out there was a podcast where a guy talks to his mom about sex was like, what the fuck? But then after meeting Cam and Karen Lee, I was like, okay, this is the perfect amount of candid talk, but also, what the fuck, Mom? No. And I love it. It was just great. My most memorable sex experience right now, the top of the list for that is how I found out my current partner is a freak. It's before we started dating. It was at Sex Geek Summer Camp because, you know, that one time at camp, this thing happened. He comes across as this nerdy dad, but he's a bit of a freak himself, and he showed me that night with a lot of spanking, biting. I had hickeys the size of Texas, and it was pretty fucking amazing, but unexpected and so memorable. Secret to great sex, communication. If you can't tell somebody what you want, need, desire, what you like, what you don't like, I don't know how you can expect them to know. Folks aren't mind readers, even the best lovers. And I always say, just because you're somebody's best lover doesn't mean you're going to be the next person's best lover. You got to stay on your toes, because what one person loves, another person will hate. So remember, use that mouth for talking. And 3 words. Let's see. Sweet, hilarious, disgusting. So sweet because it was awesome hanging out with Cam and Karen Lee and seeing their dynamic. Hilarious because I think I laughed so much. I was laughing so much. Just so much. Y'all are amazing together. You're an amazing duo, and you cracked me up the entire time. Disgusting because that thing Kim did with those other men on America's Got Talent. You showed me the clip, and I was just like, this is why you have canker sores. Swap and spit. And nobody's using Listerine, so I really hope y'all learn to use Listerine. Thanks, y'all. Congratulations.
Hello, I'm Ben.
Hi, I'm Joel, and we were on Sex Talk with My Mom as part of the Human Fountains.
What was your first reaction to hearing about our mom-son Sex Talk podcast?
Well, knowing Cam as well as we do, honestly, it kind of made a lot of sense and didn't really surprise me.
Yeah, for me it was just something that I thought I'd like to be a part of. What is your secret for great sex?
Always masturbate anytime before you think you are in any position to potentially have sex, because it helps me go a lot longer and make it a much more enjoyable experience for whoever I'm with.
And my secret for success is consent. In 3 words, how would you describe the podcast?
Informative.
I would say one of a kind, it's unique, and funny.
Hello, I am Syd Wilder, and I love Cam and Karen. They're like 2 of my favorite fucking people in the entire world. And I first heard about Sex Talk with my mom, gosh, I think it was like on Instagram, and I was like, who are these 2 people? Holy shit. His mom talks about sex. He talks about sex with his mom. I listened to it. I was like, I love these people. I have to know them. And I did like so much research on them before I met them. And I remember meeting Karen. It was her birthday because we're almost like birthday twins. And it was just like one of the best experiences of my life. Like every time I'm with them, I feel like they're part of my family. And I just love them so much. And I can't wait to be on their podcast again. My most memorable sex experience was either having sex all over the Playboy Mansion or Uber or that sex machine person. I don't know. I don't know if I have one. There's so many. My secret for great sex is it's like a dance. You have to follow the lead of the other partner, and my Lyft driver is hearing all of this, so you're welcome for the free sex advice. He's not paying attention, so that's good. In 3 words, I would describe my experience on Sex Talk with my mom as fun, funny, and home, because you guys feel like home. I put that in one of my posts, and it's true. You guys are amazing. I love you.
Hello, my name is Dune. I am co-host of I'm Sorry Dad podcast, along with Brandon Calvillo, and I gotta say it's an honor to be part of the 200th episode of Sex Talk with My Mom. Speaking of sex talk with my mom, the first question is, what was your first reaction to hearing about our mom-son sex talk podcast? I thought it sounded sexy, and I was looking forward to my first incestual threesome. And I gotta say, it was dope. Unfortunately, I didn't actually have sex with you guys. Really wanted to. I'm just kidding. See, now it's getting weird. The mom-son thing, I thought it was kind of weird at first. I thought it might be like a gimmick you guys had in your podcast, maybe like was supposed to be funny but wasn't. You know what I mean? But you guys are funny and not always trying to be. Like, you get serious. You actually talk about sex with your mom, Cam. And it's nice. I think more families should do it. So yeah, initially I thought, what is this? This is weird. Is this gonna just be like a wacky, vulgar podcast? But it's deep. Next question. What was your most memorable sex experience? Well, losing my virginity in the woods was pretty memorable. A girl once peed on my floor after sex. We were both drunk. She got up in the middle of the night and peed on my carpet. I don't know. I woke up the next morning to go use the toilet, stepped through a puddle, and I was like, oh, I must have spilled some water. But no. This crazy girl peed on my carpet, so that's gross. Memorable, though. What is your secret for great sex? I don't know. Being comfortable with yourself definitely can help you have great sex. That goes for the partner as well. Both partners are comfortable, consenting. It's just a personal connection you have with another individual that you might not know you have until you do have sex. So the secret to sex is a connection with the other person. That's so boring, though. That's lame. 3 words. Being a guest. Scared. Fun. Liberating. Scared. I was scared because, why was I? Oh, I think I just started dating a girl and I didn't want her to, like, hear, like, me saying, like, oh, I've had sex with this girl, that girl, that girl. I was just scared of that. I was scared of a girl not liking me because she found out I have sex, right? Most guys don't ever have sex. Fun. It was just fun to do. It's fun to talk about that stuff, especially with you guys, because you're mother son. So it's fun to try to make you guys feel awkward, but it doesn't always happen. Liberating. It's liberating to talk about sex and to tell some of my stories was fun. And it was afterwards. It was nice. It was like, wow, they're 2 normal people, mother son. And they really talk about sex often. It's liberating, goddammit. And thus concludes my submission for the 200th episode of Sex Talk with My Mom.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nancy Sutton Pierce, and congratulations, Cam and Karen, for your 200th episode of Sex Talk with My Mom. I am a clinical sexologist and essential yoga therapist, and I travel all over the world teaching people about sexuality, kind of like you do through your podcast. My first reaction when I heard about you doing the show was, this is brilliant and so timely and needed, and we're grateful for you. My most memorable sex experience has been bringing Tantra into my bedroom and opening me up to all the body, mind, spirit connections and how that can make our physical experience that much better. Secrets for great sex. Well, I have 5 I'm going to share with you. And one is understanding how important sexual pleasure and enjoyment is to our overall health and happiness. The next is to make physical health a priority. So because when we feel good, we feel sexier, and that makes our sex life that much better. A dirty mind. Got to have a dirty mind and be curious about sexuality and exploration. And then having a willing partner that's going to go that route with you and enjoy those naughty thoughts and create new fantasies together. And then a comfort with being able to communicate what you want, what your boundaries are, and also to express when you're feeling and experiencing pleasure so your partner gets some positive feedback. And in 3 words, how would I describe my experience being on your show? I would say fun, easy, and important. And the fun and ease is because you two have such great personalities. You bring humor and laughter and peacefulness to that experience. And then because it's such a difficult topic, you bringing this to a realm where people can open up and converse more readily makes what you do that much more important. Thanks again for the opportunity to be on your show. I look forward to many more, and congrats.
Hey guys, my name is Christopher Bryant. I am on Netflix's Cooking on High, where I judge edible marijuana dishes. I'm also on a comedy special on Amazon Prime called Out on Stage. What's your reaction to a mom-son sex podcast? Well, I knew Cam before I heard about the podcast, and when he told me he was doing a podcast with his mother on sex, I was like, of course you are. Hoping mainly that this would just cure Cam's sex issues, because nothing helps your sex life with talking about it with your mother in front of hundreds of thousands of people. It's my most memorable sex experience. I had sex with a Mormon guy who just couldn't stop crying during sex, and then found that I felt empowered because he was crying. So I don't know if crying fetishes are a thing. I think if this was like if I was a burly man and it was a small person, that would sound awful. But yes, I guess I have a place of power now thanks to that. My secret for great sex is Molly. I feel like Molly is the most magical drug in the world. I've been in a relationship for 4 years. You want to know how you keep having sex, it's Molly. It will make it feel like it's the first time. The day after is bad because then you can't stop crying. So I would say definitely eat lots of bananas the next day. I don't know if that helps. That's what some stoner told me. But I would say Molly is my new go-to drug. It just makes you feel alive. It just makes you feel anything, which is good. And then the last question is 3 words. How could you explain your experience on the show? I would say 3 words. I would say mommy issues abundance. I think that describes it. Just like lots of mommy issues. My mommy issues, Cam's mommy issues. There were a lot of mommy issues. I think they're better now.
My name is Chris Deuce. I'm the host of Celestial Sex, which is a Mormonism and sex podcast. The fact that the two of you have made a sex podcast work for this long as business partners and as mother and son, it is so impressive. I'm proud of you. When I first heard about Sex Talk with My Mom, it was from one of Cam's ex-girlfriends. And at the time when they were dating, she told me my boyfriend is podcasting about sex with his mother. It was a paradigm shift for me. It blew my mind because I'd never discussed sex with my family, certainly not publicly. So the fact that there was this show being made where a mother and son were discussing this taboo stuff, for me that was really helpful to wrap my mind around the fact that that's okay and that that's good. So when I listened to it and was learning and laughing and all that good stuff, like it helped me get to the point where I could podcast about sex myself. I feel like you guys were very inspiring, so thank you. My most memorable sex experience, I'll say, was the most recent sex experience with my girlfriend. So as to not get in trouble. Oh, her and I love to listen to sex podcasts and learn about sex and then talk about it when we're in the car. And I feel like all of those conversations help us have better sex once we're in the bedroom. So that would also be my advice for great sex, is to talk about it all the time with your partner. Be open to learning new things and the fact that you're going to change as you get older. The 3 words I would use to describe my experience being on Sex Talk with My Mom would be hilarious. You're both very funny. Educational. Loved learning about your backgrounds. And inspiring. Again, you two inspire me a lot. Thank you for the work that you're doing, interviewing so many different types of people and approaching them with curiosity and openness and a sense of humor. You two are the best. Congratulations. Good work. Keep going.
I'm Holly Randall. I'm an erotic photographer, director, and podcast host for Holly Randall Unfiltered. My first reaction to hearing about Sex Talk with Your Mom was probably a little bit different than most people. I think most people would be like shocked, like, oh my God, you're gonna talk about sex with your mom. But if people know me and know my family history in porn and know my mother, Sue's Randall, it's not strange to me at all. So I was just kind of like, oh, I talk about sex with my mom too. Like, we're all in the same boat. My most memorable sex experience was probably when I went to Amsterdam on vacation with my boyfriend right after we graduated high school, and we hired a hooker in the red light district. My secret for great sex would be to really kind of take time to figure out what both of you like. A lot of foreplay, a lot of tactile, massage, touching, maybe a little bit of restraint, maybe a little bit of BDSM. It's kind of like whatever you're into, but I think communication is definitely key. 3 words that I would use to describe my experience on Sex Talk with My Mom would be hilarious, insightful, and fun. I feel like that splits itself. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Ginny, Hogan. I was on Sex Talk with My Mom a few weeks ago. My reaction to hearing about this podcast, I thought it sounded awesome. It's a mother and a son who talk about sex. I love to talk about sex with people's parents. I much prefer to talk about sex with my own friends. If I can find a friend's parent to talk about sex with, that's great. So I love the idea of this podcast. My most memorable sexual experience was definitely when I pegged a man. It was his too, for sure. He never said it, but I do know that. And we talked about it on Sex Talk with My Mom, so listen to our episode. The secret to having great sex, I would say have sex with me if you can. And if you're not one of those, like, 17 people, I would say use a vibrator. One that maybe, like, you could, like, name it after me or something. Yeah, I think the vibrator makes it better for both people. Really just adding vibration makes sex a lot more fun in all ways. And then how I would describe the podcast episode that I did of Sex Talk with My Mom, I would say it was tons of fun. That's 3 words. I would also say it was all about pegging, and I would say it was Ginny, Cam, and Karen Lee, because we were the people who did it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kyra Kayne of the Sex Work Baby podcast, and I want to first and foremost say congratulations to Cam and Karen Lee. This is a pretty big deal. I mean, if you don't think so, you're crazy, because it is. So congratulations, guys. I do want to answer these questions for you. I remember first hearing about a mother and son podcast team and thought that it was going to be a sex therapist mother who was very pushy in making her son talk about sex. Like, he has a wet dream and she's like, let's really, really talk about this. It was not like that at all. And talking with them, it was not nearly as uncomfortable as you feel like it would be. My most memorable experience with sex, and I think this is because scent is tied to memory, but the first time I had sex, I had to use strawberry body butter from a place called The Body Shop, and the smell is so fragrant and unique, and so now every time I smell strawberry body butter, I get horny and I can't help it. So that's what it is. My biggest advice for great sex is communication. It's really smart to just be open and honest with your partner so you guys, no one's uncomfortable, and if you are feeling like something's missing, you guys can talk about it. If something's uncomfortable, you can talk about it. Communication is key. 3 words I would choose is what a blast, because it was really interesting talking to people. They talk about sex all the time. I talk about sex all the time, but I talk about sex work, and so being intrigued by one another, because I don't customarily talk to mother and son like that, so it was very interesting. Congratulations again.
Hi, my name is Sean Stoner, and I was on the Sex Talk with My Mom podcast a few months back, or maybe a while back. I think it was the first live podcast. My first reaction to hearing about this podcast was a bit timid, like I don't know, is that for real? Do I want to listen to that? But then I started thinking about the relationship I have with my mom and how we talk about a lot of things, and sometimes sex comes up. And then I guess I was just like, why would you make that public though? My most memorable sex experience, I don't think I have just one most memorable, but things that stand out in my mind are when a partner and I have sex in different locations, like, and just in the house, public perhaps too, but mostly like on a chair or in the living room or in the kitchen or in the shower, instead of just the bed. Those stand out to me as being the most memorable. What is my secret for great sex? I don't know that I have a secret for great sex, but some thoughts I have are being present, and for me, pleasing the other person. I really get a lot of pleasure out of seeing someone else have pleasure. And I think laughter and having fun. Sex is fun. I think sometimes we take it so seriously. In 3 words, how would I describe my experience being a guest on the show? Fun, vulnerable, and respect. I felt very respected. I felt comfortable to be vulnerable, and I just had a damn good time. Thanks, y'all.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicoletta von Heidegger, and I'm a marriage and family therapist and sexologist, and I had the pleasure of being on Sex Talk with My Mom back in 2016. I have actually known Cam since we went to college, so I wasn't super surprised when he told me that he was doing a sex podcast with his mom. If I had to think about my favorite sexual experience, it would probably be talking about sex with this awkward guy and his mom. It was disgustingly sexy. You may have heard of it. It's called episode 20 of Sex Talk with My Mom. And if I had to sum up my experience on Sex Talk with My Mom in 3 words, I would say oatmeal cookie thickness. And whoever commented that, you know who you are. Sex Talk with My Mom, congratulations on 200 amazing episodes. I love you so much.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Blake, and this is my video submission for Cam and Karen's 200th episode of their podcast, and it feels an honor to be included. I met Cam through the clown and idiot community, so it was a real treat to be invited to be on the show, and it's a treat to be invited to be a part of this. When I first heard about the podcast, I thought, yay, my friend has a podcast. And I knew that it would involve talking about sex, which at the time I heard of it, I hadn't had sex. So I thought, that must be interesting. My first, my most memorable sexual experience was my first, and also my one, and still one. So there, I'm not going to forget that one. It was very, very memorable. My secret for great sex would be approach the opportunity with gratefulness. Because if you're grateful for the opportunity, how can it not be great? And I certainly felt grateful for my opportunity. I thought that I might die without ever having that experience of getting to have sex. So for me, it was great. And 3 words, I felt loved. And I chose those words because I felt invited and encouraged and warm, and it was a treat. So thank you. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Cam. And here's to another 200 episodes. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, I'm Molly.
And I'm Yael. And we were on Sex Talk with My Mom.
A long time ago, right at the beginning.
Yep. We're still here. We're still queer.
Yep.
And what are the questions?
Okay. What was your first reaction to hearing about the mom-son? Oh, God. Well, the first reaction was like, yes, of course Cam would be doing this.
Right. It felt right.
It felt right. I mean, we were definitely like, ugh! I could never do that.
Right.
But, yeah, I guess at first we were like, gross, and then we were like, it makes sense.
And then we were like, I guess we have to be on it.
Right, we begged and begged. Most memorable sex experience.
Ooh, not gonna...
Every single one is memorable. Secret for great sex. I would just say...
Honesty.
And like, consistency. Yeah, like, do it...
Okay, well, I don't want to get into details.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not Cam or Karen.
In 3 words, how would you describe your experience being a guest on our show?
3 words. Fun. Weird.
Uh-huh.
You do the third.
Okay. Unique. It was a unique experience.
Unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Bye. Sex talkers. Is there like a word for them?
Sex talkers.
Sex talkers with my mommers.
Hi, my name is Kate Spina. I'm a meditation facilitator here in LA. And congratulations, Cam and Karen Lee, on your 200th episode. That's really exciting. When I first heard about this podcast, I was so excited to hear about a mother-son duo talking about sex. I feel like we live in a culture where we don't talk about sex enough, and there's so many stigmas, and so it felt so nice to have this different configuration of people really talking about it. One of my most memorable sexual experiences was being with a man who I'd been acquaintance with for several years, but one evening just decided to go over to his place, and he spent 2 hours worshiping my body, worshiping the divine feminine within me, multiple orgasms, like so much care and service. I just felt so adored. It was amazing. My secret to really good sex is presence, is really being aware of what is happening in my experience in the moment, what's happening in my partner's experience in the moment, how I can get more pleasure, how I can give more pleasure, how I can really be with this person in this moment. The 3 words that come up for me when I think about being on the podcast was I felt very welcomed by Cam and Karen Lee. Here I am coming from a Buddhist perspective to talk about sex, and I just felt so welcomed and accepted for that. And I felt hopeful by the end of the podcast, just feeling like I'm so grateful these conversations are being had.
When I first heard of the podcast, I was delighted and absolutely honored because I heard of it while I was being invited to be a guest. I was thinking to myself, wow, this guy's really cute. Oh my gosh, he has so much energy. What a smile. Wow, he wants me to be on his podcast. And with his mom, I wasn't comfortable talking to my mom about sex. I have huge fear and kind of revulsion, physical reactions to taboo. The reason I decided to talk about that was because your other question was, what is your secret for great sex? Sex. Oh, yeah. Okay. I did not have great sex with myself for a long time because I was so ashamed and so cut off from my body. My secret to having great sex is learning how to drop out of my mental reality and my mental reactions, which are always happening, but shifting to those physical reactions and focusing my attention there became my great secret. My secret to great sex.
Hello, I am Dr. Laurie Bennett-Cook, and I am just here to give my rave reviews of hanging with Cam and Karen on the Sex Talk with My Mom podcast. It was an amazing experience. My first reaction hearing about the podcast was actually really excited because I have children of my own, and the ability to talk freely about sex and sexuality and our bodies and everything that comes in these beautiful things that we're walking around the earth in was a pretty cool opportunity, and I was excited to do so. My most memorable sex experience. My most memorable experience was when I was working at a brothel years ago, and I had an elderly man come in that was looking for someone to dance with him. And he had gone and asked all the different ladies, do you dance, and none of which would say, no. They all said yes, because of course we're in a brothel and they're all amazing dancers. He approached me and I said, no, don't dance. And we went back to my room. That was exactly what he was looking for. And me completely nude in nothing but my stilettos, and we danced. He taught me to dance, and it was probably the most beautiful experience I ever had. And it was had nothing to do with actual penetration or sex, but it was connecting, and that was really, really valuable and amazing. In 3 words, how would I describe my experience being on Cam and Karen's show? Probably very comfortable, and as though I was sitting with old friends and just talking freely about sex and sexuality. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience, and I am so thrilled for the 200th episode and so honored to have gotten to be a part of the journey. So thank you and love to you both.
Hello, Cam and the beautiful Karen Lee. This is Sassy Sandy Lee from Toronto. When I first found out about your podcast, I thought, how awesome is that? Because contrary to what you guys think of me, I am prudish somewhat of how I speak of sex in public and with my children and whatnot. So I really admire the relationship that you guys have, open and funny and whimsical. I think it's simply fantastic. I was recently on your podcast, and I thank you because I love for the opportunity to share of a cougar MILF, married for 28 years, mommy of 2 young adult girls, what it's like and how normal I am and whatnot. The question was most memorable sex. I'm going to say anytime we've been on vacation because of the new environment, the lax atmosphere, no children at home, no dog on the bed watching. That's the thing. Yeah, so anytime on vacation is always memorable, like a new photo album of sex. My secret to great sex, I would say, is after all this time, just learning and knowing what works, what doesn't work, being giving, being thoughtful, and working towards success in the same direction. So I believe that's everything. How would I describe my experience on the show with you? Funny as fuck. Because you guys make me laugh, and I hopefully contribute a little bit of laughter to your show. So keep up the good work. Love you guys. Check it out. Bye.